Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Say, did you know that in the Army, if you lose your rifle, they charge you $85? That's why in the Navy, the captain always goes down with a ship. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 10 games at sea. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at my top 10 games at sea. What do I mean by that? I mean just what I say, games that have kind of a naval theme, an ocean theme. Some of these are war games, some of them are more conventional games, but just anything with boats at sea, that's what this one is. So we're going to go ahead and get started now. My number 10 is They Come Unseen from Osprey Games. This is a game of hidden movement. This is a game of kind of Cold War intrigue. One of you are submarine captains, then I believe you're American submarine captains, trying to maneuver into kind of Soviet waters. The Soviets are trying to hunt you down, trying to find you. It was a tense cat and mouse game with kind of this great Cold War theme, and I believe the designer of it himself was in the Navy for years, and so there's kind of a real air of authenticity to it. But this is number 10. That is They Come Unseen. That is from Osprey Games. My number 9 is probably the lightest game on this list, and this is Scope U-Boot. Essentially, Scope U-Boot, I reviewed it actually not too long ago. You're placing cards down in front of you, and then the allies have kind of freighters that are moving along, and then they have a destroyer that's kind of searching. You're searching the other cards and then moving on top of them. If you find the submarines, then you move on top of it. You kill the submarines, but the subs can surface and fire. They shoot their torpedoes, so you kind of have a sense of where they're coming. But those torpedoes are going to try to take out the freighters. Again, a lot of fun. Very light game, very quick game, but again, packs a punch. So that is a Scope U-Boot. That is my number 9, and that is from Draco Ideas. My number 8, I'm starting to sense a U-boat theme here. My number 8 is U-Boot from Phalanx. Now, I'll tell you right now, this game, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with it, but it's still just, there's so much that's cool here. This is a game where you've got this kind of three-dimensional U-boat, and you've got your characters, and you're moving your characters in different locations on the U-boat. But you've got specific roles. One of you has to kind of set your course and figure out where you're going. You know, you've got the captain, you've got the engineer who's got to make sure the engines are working right, and so there's different jobs. You know, one of you is also kind of preparing meals, making sure you're all eating on time. It's more of a U-boat simulator in some aspects. It uses an app to help you move here, but it's a really intense experience. I only wish, and I know I think they're re-releasing it here coming up. I only wish it was a hair more streamlined. I only wish they could get rid of some of the minutia and just make it a little more streamlined. I think I'd like it a lot better. But as it is, it's a really interesting game, really fun and unique game. So that is number 8. That is U-Boot, and that is from Phalanx Games. My number 7 is a game that I just played here fairly recently, and this is The Hunt from Salt and Pepper Games. The Hunt from Salt and Pepper Games is a game of, again, cat and mouse. In this case, it's the Admiral Graf Spee, the German Kriegsmarine versus the Royal Navy. And again, it's hidden movement. They're trying to hunt him down, but it's very much a war game. You play cards. You can play them for the operational points, the action points, or the event. And it really does feel like a mashup of a traditional hidden movement game with a modern war game, a CDG war game. So it's a very fun puzzle. It's really a lot of fun. And again, I love hidden movement, and I love war games like this. So that is The Hunt, number 7. That is from Salt and Pepper Games. My number 6 is another game that I played fairly recently. I had played the original version about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. And then they just came out with a deluxe version that I just played, which is quite a bit different. Plays exactly the same, but the components are quite a bit different. This is, of course, Bismar Solitaire Deluxe. The original version was a book war game. This is a boxed board game with actual components. But in Bismarck Solitaire Deluxe, players are, or the player, it's a solitaire game, the player takes on the role of the Bismarck and the Prinz Eugen and a German U-boat. And you're moving around this kind of grid in the Atlantic, searching for convoys, looking to take down other ships. And then every round you roll a die. And the die corresponds to like this graph chart, which tells you exactly what is happening in your neck of the woods. If nothing's happening there, you're fine. Nothing happens. But you may encounter convoys you can try to take down and destroy. But you may encounter task forces and various ships that attack you and you attack back. And during these battles, you have options. You can get in close where your hits count for more, but you're more exposed, or you can pull back where you've got less of a chance of getting a hit, but you're also safer. So there's some real interesting options in this game. It's a quick game, and yet there's a lot of variety. There are different missions you can go on. Really enjoy this boxed war game for Bismarck Solitaire Deluxe from Worthington Games. That is my number 6. My number 5 is one of the most unique games I've ever played. It is a war game, and I've never played a game that functioned the way this game does and the rules of this game. And I'm really hoping they come up with some more iterations, more like other theaters for this game. But my number 5 here is Atlantic Chase from GMT Games. Now, Atlantic Chase is, of course, about the early years of World War II, while the Germans are sorting their surface fleet. And you're across the Atlantic, and you, of course, have the various hexes. But what you do is you actually create a trajectory, your course for your ship. And you are somewhere along that course, and your enemies have to essentially try to locate where along that course you are. And so they have to do searches. They might locate you. If they locate you, you do battle. You have a battle board that you fight with these ships on. Again, you have options to close in to get further away. Again, maybe a hair more complex than I'd like it to be. I'd like to see a little more streamlined, but even having said that, I feel bad because it's such an interesting game. It's such an interesting, like I said, I've never seen anything like it. It's not just a typical hidden movement game. You're searching along these trajectories. You know basically along the line where they are, but you've got to find where they are. And you got to go in there. You got to bring in die rolls. You got to bring in DRMs to help you find it. Really fun and really, really unique naval war game. Really like Atlantic Chase. And like I said, I'm excited to see new iterations of it. That is number 5, and that is from GMT Games. My number 4 is considerably lighter and considerably different than Atlantic Chase. This is based on a movie that came out I think a year before I was born, or right around there. But this is Jaws. Jaws from Ravensburger is a game of hidden movement, and it's done in 2 acts. In the first act, you've got the island, you've got the beach, and the shark can make just these random attacks. Well, I shouldn't say random, calculated attacks around the board. And the players, they're trying to inflict damage on them. They're trying to gain information about them. And then in the second act, you are on the boat from the end of the movie Jaws, and the shark is attacking the boat. But as the shark is attacking the boat, depending on how successful the other players were in harming him and what have you in the first act, that kind of sets up the conditions for the second act. And it's very good. It's a very fun, interesting, and thematic game that's got hidden movement, but it's got the great theme from the movie. Jaws. Who knew? That is Jaws. That is my number 4. That is from Ravensburger. My number 3 is another war game. It's a game that I played, I think it was earlier this year, I played and reviewed. It's another book war game. This is C Solitire from Worthington. C Solitire is a great game of carrier battles. And again, it's just the book, and you need a pencil and the dice. And you can go ahead and you can, you're moving the carriers, the Yorktown, the Lexington, etc. You're moving them toward the Japanese force. And you're sending your planes at them. They're sending their planes at you. You've got a cap, so they got to go through your cap. And you're trying to stop. I think it's the invasion of Port Moresby, and you're trying to stop that while you're facing down these other carriers. It is phenomenal. This game is so much fun. Again, having said all that, there is some wonky rules here and there. You got to house rule a few things, but generally, this game is great. I'd love to see this as a boxed war game, a deluxe edition of this one too. It's probably my favorite of all the book war games I've played, and I played some great ones. It's probably my favorite. Really enjoy Coral Sea Solitaire. I love that carrier battle action. That is my number 3. That is from Worthington. My number 2, this is another one that's quite a bit different from a lot of these other games on this list. This one, first of all, has a horror theme. I guess you could say Jaws has a bit of a horror theme. But this one has a horror theme. It's a fairly new game. It's also a riff on a much earlier game that I really love. This is Unfathomable from Fantasy Flight. So one of my favorite games of all time is Battlestar Galactica. And so what they did here with Unfathomable is they essentially just tweaked it. They changed it. So they made Battlestar Galactica into kind of a Cthulhu at sea experience. So here, your passengers on a passenger liner. Cthulhu monsters sea monsters are attacking you. They're coming up on the ship and trying to attack you. You've got to go ahead and conduct rituals to clear them away. You've got to contribute cards to a common pool to get through the various crises. And of course, one or more of you may be hidden traitors. So it's just tremendous fun. I love Battlestar, and this is a great re-implementation of it. They're both different enough that I would hang on to both of them. In fact, I think Unfathomable in many ways is much more streamlined than Battlestar Galactica, but I love Battlestar Galactica, so I'm not giving that up. And I'm going to hang on to Unfathomable too. Really, really love Unfathomable. It is a fantastic game. Great, creepy horror game, and it's got the hidden traitor mechanic that I love so much. So that is number 2. That is Unfathomable, and that is from Fantasy Flight Games. All right, my number 1 game with kind of a naval sea theme here. This will probably come to no surprises to anyone. This one is consistently in my top 10. There for a while, I was contemplating making it my number 1 game. Ultimately, I didn't decide that, but it was pretty high up. In fact, I'd still say it's easily in my top 5 games of all time. It's a game that takes a lot of people. You need literally to have the full experience. You need 8 players. And the first time I played it, I was not really expecting that much from it, and it blew me and my friends away. Just could not believe how much fun we had. And the game takes 20, 30 minutes tops. This is Captain Sonar. Captain Sonar is a great game of, essentially it's team battleship, right? You got a big divider between you and your opponents. You've got each ship has a captain, you have a first officer, you have a radio man, and you have an engineer. And all 4 of them have important parts they've got to play in order to find the enemy ship, keep your ship running, and destroy the enemy ship, fire on the enemy ship. This is one of those games that is so incredibly tense, and every time you play it, you're scared they're going to get you, and you're trying to get them. All the roles are fun. Personally, I love the captain. I love kind of having all that information in my head and just trying to make the best decision you can. And when you have that moment where you look at your engineer, you've got green lights from him. Your first officer's got green lights. Your radio man's telling you, I think they're right here. And you got that gut feeling, and you say, we're firing at that location, and they say hit, and it's just golden. It is so freaking fun. Captain Sonar is not just one of the great games of all time. It produces some of the best experiences I've ever had playing board games. I love Captain Sonar very, very much, and I think you will too if you haven't played it. You need to try it if you haven't played it. At some point, if it's at a convention, play it. Otherwise, get 7 friends, buy a copy, and play it. It is that good. So that is number 1. That is Captain Sonar. That is from, I believe, Madagascar. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this. Please let me know. What do you think? Do you like my choices for games at sea? What games would you include on this list? And are there some that shouldn't be here, in your opinion? Always eager to hear what you have to say. Just please keep it civil. Please leave a comment here on YouTube, Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you, of course, to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to check out my other channel, Cody Carlson, PhD. We talk about military history, books on history, fun things like that. And also, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to that channel. It would mean a lot to me. And I'll probably post this video on Board Game Geek. Please give us a thumb there for this video. And if you really like the channel, if you really like the kinds of things that we do here and the content we bring, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button to leave a contribution. Again, we would really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, why is it that admirals prefer non-swimmers in the Navy? They defend the ships with a lot more enthusiasm. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight, but I don't ever win. It's a fine line to damnation. God let me in.
Oh, south. Tell me we got weapons. Tell me we got weapons.
We got weapons.
1, 2, 3. Detonate. Firing torpedo. Detonating at D6.